invested in what they were doing, and they made me want to be
Um,
invested. So I was
mm,
like, yeah, like I really want to learn more about what you guys do. And
that's
then
great.
like we've been talking
Mm-hmm.
since then, and Travis sent me this meeting, and now I'm here. And I just honestly, I just hope to learn more and like expand like my own mind and everything. And yeah,
Mm-hmm. Awesome, awesome. That's great to hear. It's like being in that mindset, that state of mind where it's like you see other people doing so much. I know that the world around us now, it's like opportunity is lying everywhere. It's like around the corner, there's people who are doing their own small business. There's people who are doing internships. And definitely nowadays, I think that if you don't try and get ahead outside of school, then you're going to fall behind while in school. And I'm not talking about your grades. I'm not talking about what you guys are pursuing in terms of your major, but I'm talking about your life overall in terms of what's after the 4 years of college. Because if you guys don't know, it's like the instant that you sign up for a college degree, that you sign up to go to that school, you sign away of what's called a 40-40-40 plan. That 40-40-40 plan is that you to commit yourself to working for the next 40 years, 40 hours per week for 40 years of your life, right? And that 40-40-40 plan, and on top of that, I forgot to mention one thing. The 40% of the money that you make in your job, it goes towards the government. Is that something that you guys realize or you guys see? Is that what they tell you before going to college? That you immediately sign up for it the day you walk on campus? I want to know from you guys. Has anyone ever told you that? That's what you do?
nah.
No, right? But now let me ask you this again. Would any of you guys going back, given that, want to exactly follow along that traditional pathway, follow along exactly what your parents tell you to do? When you can realize and you visualize that for yourself? Probably not, right? And so I'm not saying that school is bad or anything. I'm not saying that school is improper, but what I'm trying to share is that how can we maximize our 5 to 9? That's the time after work to minimize our 9 to 5. So maybe it's not about retiring yourself early age, financial freedom in your 20s, but maybe instead of working 40 hours, 50 hours, 60 hours per week, can we reduce that to 40? Can we reduce that to 20? And can you start increasing the percentage that you get back in your income by finding out different strategies, different ways, owning a business, owning a side hustle. So now you're not putting 40% of your check into your work, but that extra 40%, it comes back to you. And now you're earning 100%. And so I really like that point that you made, Brant, as well, about you see other people doing things and it makes you interested. I think that you're going in the right direction and you should surround yourself around more ambitious people. But I want to talk to a few other people as well. I know I have Marcio, Mercutio. How do I pronounce your name? Sorry, my man.
Yeah, Mauricio.
Mauricio. Yeah, so could you also share a little about yourself as well? Just your background, what you expected, and one thing you're excited to learn?
I'm a first year.
Oh, oh, I think you're lagging a little
So
bit.
just
Oh, can you say that one more time? I think you're lagging a little bit, my man.
so bad.
Sorry. Here, you might have to come back to. I think it's a little bit too laggy. My apologies. Don't worry, don't worry. I know it's not, I can hear it's like audible, but it's very hard to make up the words or anything. But don't worry, I'm sure that throughout the meeting it should get a little bit better and everything. But let's go over to Reese as well. Hello, Reese. Nice to meet you. How are you doing today?
Oh yeah, yeah, I'm a second year at San Jose State. I'm currently trying to work towards a mechanical engineering degree.
Nice. Mm-hmm.
Um, Honestly, I don't have much of a background in business or anything. So when
No
Kim
worries. No
invited me
worries.
to this
Uh-huh.
meeting, I wasn't I didn't know what I was going to expect. But yeah, I just thought it would be sort of like a nice little opportunity to like learn something new, and
Mm,
maybe
okay.
build some connections, see what I could learn, and yeah,
Yeah,
you never
that's
know.
great to hear. And so, could you repeat one more time what you're majoring in again? Sorry, I might have missed it.
Mechanical engineering.
Oh, mechanical engineering. Wow, that's great. I think that you're probably the most extroverted mechanical engineer I've met. You know what I mean? Most
Yeah,
mechanical
yeah.
engineers I meet, like, they don't even want to show up onto a Zoom meeting like
Wow.
this. They are the ones that kind of sit in their room. They kind of like playing games. They like building stuff. But it's great to see that you're here as well. And so I'm curious to know, like, in terms of wanting to branch out and everything, like, what made you want to learn and expand your network? I don't meet a lot of people already starting to think about that as a second year.
Mm. Well, I mean, I'm gonna be honest. Like, I honestly, before I met Tree, I mean, it was I don't know if this is like common or anything, but I was just
Mm-hmm.
sitting at the student union. And Tree walked by me, like asked me a question about about like
Mm-hmm.
some door being closed, and then we just got to talking from there. I don't. It was just some spontaneous conversation.
Yeah.
And then he ended up inviting me to this meeting, and I thought, at the time
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, you know what, why not, just
Yeah.
meet some new people,
Sure. Sure.
experiencing something new, So.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yeah,
going in
that's
this
great.
completely blind and I don't know what to expect, but I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
I'll enjoy it.
Yeah, that's great. And I think that there's something that my mentor, he always tells me, and he's someone that I work with very closely and I've got to know really well. And he tells me that your network is your net worth. Back then, when it was in the what, 50s, 60s, 70s, then you could get by with just a good GPA. You can get by with a 4.0. But nowadays, if you guys look around you, the society around you, you see that even 4.0 GPA, graduating from college, even like schools like San Jose State, De Anza, all these other colleges, it does not guarantee you a job anymore. Because in all honesty, if the bachelor's degree could guarantee you a job, then why do they still need to interview you? Why do they still need to ask you for more information about yourself? Why do you still need to sit down for multiple meetings to talk and to see whether or not you have the right qualities, the right characteristics? And that's because I want to make this point very clear to you guys is that nowadays, the way that jobs look for is not necessarily the hard skills because jobs, they can pay the company, they can pay whatever to teach you to be able to produce those skills, those soft skills, everything like that. But in order to learn how to level up your career, in order to learn how to develop it, that's where you need something outside of it that can be able to teach you, educate you, guide you. And so that's something that I will be talking about today. Even though my seminar is called Entrepreneurial Seminar, it's not necessarily in the way of that you do business, but in the way that you think about the world around you. You start to begin to question things around you. Why is it that we have 40-hour work weeks? Why is it that Monday is the beginning of the work week? Why can't Tuesday be the beginning of the work week? Why is it that we only have 2 days off and not 3 days? There's stuff that you never really question around you, especially around us in our society. But the goal for me today is not to convince you, not to tell you to go do anything outside of what you already do in the norm, but start thinking about, is this truly the life that you want to live? Is it truly the direction that you're going? Is that a choice that you made for yourself? Or is that a choice that your parents made for you years ago, years and years and years ago? And so if you guys don't mind, I'd love to share a quick slideshow as well with all of you guys so that you guys can see as well a little bit of what I'm talking about. And so there's this concept that I want to touch on, and it's called the Wheel of Life. I'm not sure. Have any of you guys heard of this or seen this concept before? Nobody? Nobody? Wow, I'm very surprised. And so the Wheel of Life is actually a concept that I find to be very, very crucial because on this Wheel of Life, what it talks about is 8 different assets or 8 different characteristics about where we want to be in our life. There's different things like finance, family, personal growth, fitness, freedom, relationship, entertainment, impact, charity. And these 8 assets are things that we want to be able to accumulate. However, when you look at your life, when you look at your background, when you look at the direction that you're going, there's always one asset, one thing that we typically tend to gravitate towards. And I want to just ask maybe Reese, what is that one thing on this chart that you see most families, most people, they are naturally gravitating towards?
I mean, I think well nowadays it's most likely like finance or
Mm-hmm.
family.
Yeah, definitely. It's always usually finance, correct? In which no matter what we do, we're always going to be heading towards that route of finance. And that's very similar to me because, like I mentioned, I'm actually a finance major, in which I was going into college. To be honest, like a lot of you guys, I didn't really know what I exactly wanted to do, but I knew what I didn't want to do. In which I knew I didn't want to be like, for example, an art major. I knew I didn't want to be something that was like didn't make a lot of money. I wanted to do something that could support me enough to where I can at least make an okay living. And so my background, who I am today, the upbringing I come from, it's all from the people that I met and all from the influence around my lifestyle. And so I want to share a little bit about myself because maybe you guys don't know me too much as well. But this chart that I saw, the Wheel of Life, is something that I think can resonate and relate to all of us as we look around and we see what is it out there that we truly want for ourselves. And so, to be honest, coming from my background, I come from not the wealthiest family in the world, but I also don't come from like a really low income family. I'm kind of like your average suburban family, you would say, where every week, every year was pretty much the same. Where my parents, they work for 50 weeks and then they get 2 weeks off. and it was like kind of like that 9 to 5, day and night, in which, in all honesty, as a child growing up, I didn't really mind. I didn't really see a lot of the flaws, the things that I didn't like about their lifestyle. But as I slowly got a little bit older, I started to see and started to notice that, wait, there's parts of their life that maybe I'm not sure I want to adapt into my own life. And so some of these things that I didn't want to adapt is like, I would look at my mom, I look at my dad, and I see how my dad, when he was working as a mechanical engineer, he was working 12, 14-hour shifts, crazy long hours. I'm not sure, Reese, have you ever like talked to anybody, networked with any mechanical engineers in your field? Have you ever gotten a chance to ask them what their lifestyle really looks like?
Yeah, actually, surprisingly, one of my
Mm-hmm.
at a previous job I had at barista as a barista,
Mm-hmm.
my the owner of the franchise of the cafe was actually a mechanical engineer, and he was using
Really?
franchising as a
Mm-hmm.
side hustle, so along with his job as
Mm.
a mechanical engineer.
That's great. Now I want to ask you this as well because I think that maybe Brant, maybe Mauricio, you as my CSO, have you ever questioned though? Why is it that he wants to have a side hustle? Have you ever questioned why is it that he wanted to start his own franchise? Because as a mechanical engineer, you make pretty decent money. So when you get towards the end of your career, it's like over what 100K, 150K. But then, did you ever take that chance, Reese, to ask him, wait? So I know I'm working for you, but why did you want to start a business? Why weren't you satisfied with working that 9 to 5? I know you probably have like 10, 15 more years ahead of you, but why start a business now? Like Brant, for example, for you, I know you said you were in engineering as well, right? Have you ever talked to, networked with anyone in your field and ever got the chance to ask them, like, oh, why is it that you chose this field? What does that look like? What do you do? Have you ever asked them, people like that?
I've had like a few people, like my sister's boyfriend, as an example.
Mm-hmm.
He's also in engineering, and he like just recently got like a full-time job. And
Mm.
I think for him, he like specifically enjoys like
Mm-hmm.
the engineering parts of like I'm not entirely sure about like the specifics of his job, but he like
Mm-hmm.
enjoys the stuff he's doing. So I know that's why
Mm-hmm.
he's in it, but I feel like I'm sure he would switch to like another job if there was like a better offer or something similar to
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think that definitely having talking to those people who are close to you is great. But the type of reference point that I'm talking about is those people who are in their 50s, those people who are in their 60s, those people who have endured, who have been in that occupation for so long that it's like they know that occupation like the back of their hand. Because most people, when they come out of college, naturally, right? You get a job, you start earning some income, you start making some money, you're naturally going to be very excited about it. So when you ask them at that point in time, they're like, yeah, I'm very happy for this. But then when you talk to those people, maybe 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, for me, when I was in high school, my family was already working as a mechanical engineer for over 30 to 40 years. And so their perspective starts to change because they no longer care about the finance aspect like we talked about on this wheel of life. But now they want more freedom. They want more family time. They want more entertainment. They want more fitness. But they're not able to achieve that. And so, like Reese was just sharing about, right? That question of why is it that people decide, even though they're in their main occupation, to branch off and do something else, that's something that you should start asking yourself about. If everybody is complacent and satisfied, why look for more? Why not just settle down, be happy with your life? And so there's other things that you have to ask yourself, and that I saw in my lifetime as well, in which I was always wondering, I'm like, man, why is it that I can see people like Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, these all successful entrepreneurs, they're able to have 24 hours a day to their family if they choose to. But my family can only ever have, what, 2, 3 hours. Why is it that I see these successful entrepreneurs, people sharing about their story, people like, Shark Tank, for example, right? With Kevin O'Leary, all these other people. Why is it that they're able to reach that level of sex, but my parent can't? Like, for example, right, for Reese, when you were born, and let's say you were at the hospital, do you think that the moment you were born, the nurses and everything, they took a stamp and they're like, okay, Reese has to be a mechanical engineer. Reese has to do this. Reese has to do that. Did they do that? Did they pre-assign you your current field and role? I don't
No, I
think
don't think
so.
so. No.
I don't think so, right? But then, why is it that we go down something, we follow it wholeheartedly, not based around because we know the facts of what that lifestyle looks like, but we hear trendy things. We hear from our parents, oh, that job, it makes a lot of money. Oh, that field, it has pretty good benefits. Oh, that career, I mean, I don't really know much about it, but I think it's going to be good because I'm doing it. That's the thing that we often hear. Or for example, AI. AI is moving the way. Everybody should hop on the AI. But nobody ever asked himself, like, wait, if I'm doing AI and I'm building it, then one day AI is going to replace me because they can do my job better than me. They never tell you this stuff, right? They always just get you in that systematic thinking of do whatever you have to do to survive. And so when I talk about my story, when I talk about my upbringing, it was never something I questioned until I started seeing my parents, my family work 6, 7 days a week. I started to see them like sun and moon, whereas like my mom was always there in the daytime, my dad was always there in the nighttime. And so I saw that and I was just like, man, is there any way I can be able to just help them, support them, do something so that I can just buy back one day of their time? Because unlike a lot of you guys, for me, in all honesty, I wasn't super money driven. I wasn't super like, oh, I want to be the richest man in the world. I want to have the fanciest cars. I was like, can I live a complacent and happy lifestyle where I get to make my own decisions, wake up on my own time? And I saw that with my parents working that job, maybe I cannot be able to do that. And so that's when I decided to start my first business at the age of 16. And in all honesty, the first business that I started, it was nothing super flashy, super cool. I just took a skill that I learned in high school, which was basketball. And I decided to start a small business out of it, where I was training and coaching elementary school students. And then alongside that, I was doing a bunch of other things as well, in which I was, I was able to do reselling. I was able to do shoes. I was doing clothes. I was doing drop shipping. I was just doing anything to make money. Not because I loved money, because I wanted to spend all of it, but just to buy back one day of my parents' time. And so through that, I was able to make already at the age of 16, like $2,000 per month. I was able to, have a level of success at the age. And some people are like, wow, that's pretty impressive. A 16-year-old making that much money. But I was like, no, because when you look at it, when people talk about their career, they only ever talk about how much money they make, but they never talk about the amount of time it takes to make that money. For example, if I were to talk about my basketball business, let's say I make $2,000 or let's say $100. How long does it take to make that 100? Does it take 1 hour? Does it take 5 hours? Does it take 2 hours? You never ask that. Or for example, in a mechanical engineering field, you always ask, oh, how much do they make? But you never ask, what is the risk of getting injured in that field? Because in very hard industries like that, where it's a lot of hands-on work, where you build a lot of stuff, the risk for injury is very high because it's repeated labor after labor after labor after labor, day in and day out, no resting. You never really question, you never really ask yourself that. And so the moment that I saw and realized that, wait, even though I start my own small business, even though I'm trying to get out of that 9 to 5 rat race that my parents are, the way that I was taught, the way that I was educated, the way that I learned was exactly the same way that my parents were teaching me. So although I'm doing something different than them, I'm going down the exact same pathway. And so that's when I got questioned. I started questioning myself the value between time and money. Because if I were to ask, let's say, Brant, between time and money, which one do you feel is a more valuable commodity?
I would say time, just because like time is like correlated to everything. Like in my eyes, it's not like you're making like money, it's like you're saving time. So it's kind of like a conversion. Like how much time are you putting in for like how much money you're getting out, or like how much time are you putting in to improve like said skill, and like so on and so forth.
Okay, what about you, Reese? What do you think between time and money? Which one do you feel is the more valuable commodity?
I mean, time is, like, let's face it, everyone's time is always limited. So, and you never know how much money you can make. So obviously, time is more valuable in the, like Brand said, it's like a conversion. Like, you could spend your time to make money, and then you would spend your money to make good use of your time. Like go on holidays or
exactly
buy something nice.
Do you agree, Marcio? Do you agree with that? Time is more valuable?
I would say time. Yeah, for me, I would like time more valuable than anything else.
Yeah, I agree with all of you guys. I think you guys all have the right mindset in terms of, yes, time is a more limited commodity, because when you look at money, it's like you invest $1,000 in the stock market. To be honest, you can always make it back. But if you miss your mom's birthday, you can't make it back. But now let me ask you this on the flip side. With what you guys are doing right now, do you think that you are trading your time for money, or are you able to create more time? Meaning that the job that you're about to work, isn't that going against what you just said because you get put in a certain number of hours, you get a certain amount of money in return? Am I correct in that? Is there a way for you to work less and make more in a job? Not really. Because when you go higher up the scale, right? When you become a manager, when you become a CEO, board of director, whatever, now your commitment level becomes higher. So although you make more, now you keep working more hours. And slowly, and slowly, and slowly, your boss will get you into that trap where it's like, oh, Reese, can you do this for me? Oh, Brant, can you do this thing for me? Can you just stay back a few more hours? Oh, Reese, can you work overtime a little bit more? Oh, Reese, can you take over this operation? And all of a sudden, now what happens? Now you're working 50 hours. Now you're working 60 hours because you have to keep that job. And then, you know what's going to happen as well? Then the person starts saying, oh, can you start teaching this person, this newcomer, how to work this job? For a lot of you guys might not honestly see this, but they're going to start asking you and be like, this new person just came on board. Can you start teaching him all of these things? Can you teach him what you know? But you don't even know that that person that you just taught, that's the person that's going to be able to replace you. Because once you teach them what you do, they can do your exact work at a cheaper cost. And so these are the other side of the coin that I'm talking about that nobody ever really teaches you. Nobody ever really wants to make you aware of. And so you see all these type of financial gurus out there saying, oh, I can teach you how to make $1 million. I can teach you how to do drop shipping as long as you buy my course, right? But I don't see many people out there teaching you how can I make more time. I can show you how to create more time within your day because you all only have 24 hours in a day, like Reese, like Brant was mentioning. But then why is it that some people can be successful and some people cannot? What is that differentiating factor? And I'll tell you this, it's not based around the upbringing you come in, but it's based around the mindset, the knowledge that you have. And so I want to share a little bit concept called vehicle and destination, in which a lot of times in our life, let's say, for example, I think Mauricio, you'd be the type of guy that would answer this very well. For you, if there's any type of sports car in the world that you can drive today, what would it be? Like, do you have any favorite type of car, any car that you would really want to have?
Probably Bugatti, Lambo, something like that.
Bugatti, Lambo. And then I see we have a new person, Shamir. Shamir, what if you could drive any car in the world, what type of car would it be?
Probably a Ferrari.
Ferrari, man, you guys are like high riders, you know, and for me, I just want like a Tesla or something, you know? But now let me ask you this. So let's say that you take your Ferrari, you take your Lamborghini, your Bugatti, everything like that, and you're in NorCal. I believe most of us are in NorCal or Central, and we want to go down to SoCal. How long would it take us if we're going in a straight line downward to get there? Let's say for Shamir, I believe you're from what? California. You're from NorCal, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. How long would it take you
To go where?
to go from NorCal to SoCal in one straight line
Probably
with that car? Yeah, like maybe like 6 hours, right? 7 hours.
yeah.
And then maybe if you're in like Merced, anything like what, 4 or 5 hours?
Mhm.
Now, let me ask you this as well. Let's say that you're going from NorCal and you want to get to SoCal still, but you drive in a straight line upward. Now, instead of going downward, you want to go straight upward. You're not making a U-turn. You're not changing direction. How long would it take to get there? Let's say for Shamir.
8 hours.
8 hours, but if you go straight upward, right, Shamir, and you don't change direction, eventually you're going to go up to Washington, go up to Canada. Do you think that you'll still be able to get to your location?
Probably not.
Probably not, right? And so, sorry, I know it's a little bit of a key point, but what I want you guys to realize is that a lot of times we pick the vehicle before we pick our destination, in which we choose what we want to do in terms of our major, in terms of our career, in terms of our job, before we truly pick that lifestyle that we want to have. That lifestyle is what I was showing on the other side. Because, for example, for me, my lifestyle that I was looking for was to work my way up the corporate ladder as a finance degree, maybe one day become a manager, a director of finance, maybe one day own my own business. But I never really got the chance to ask myself, not what do I want to do, but how do I want to live? And that was the first ever time I heard that from my mentor, when he asked me not about what are these tangible things that you want in your life, but rather what type of lifestyle do you want to have? And so this brings me to my next point that I want to talk about, in which we talk about life goals. Because in all honesty, when we look at a chart like this, our life is broken down into many different parts. From our 0 to 20s, from our 20s to 30s, 30 to 40s, 40s to 50s. And in each part of our life, there's different things that we want to be able to achieve. For example, when we're in our early 20s, that's where we're more concerned about enjoying life, learning now. But then when we get to that 20 to 30 period, now we care about discovery, income, reputation, money, really finding out what we want to do and submitting to that for the next, 30, 40 years. But then from 30s to 40s, 40s to 50s, and 50s to 60s, that's where we're concerned about stability, security, marriage, family, freedom, convenience, health, luxury. And then 60 and beyond, that's when we worry about our legacy and impact. But what I want to ask you guys right now as well is there anything that you're doing in your 20s to 30s that can provide for you in your 30s, 40s, and 50s? For example, Reese, do you think that by the time you're 30 to 40, do you still care about discovery, still care about learning more about what you want to do? Or is that at that point in time, you really are worried about a job? You're really worried about what type of income can I make? Correct?
Yeah.
What about in your 40s to 50s? Do you still care about your reputation? Do you still care about relationship as much with your friends? No, not really, right, Shamir? Now, at that point in time, you've been working, you're not working to live, but you're living to work now, in which you've been doing the same thing for the past 20 years. And you have, guess what? Another 20 years ahead of you to be able to retire. So at that point, you don't even care about whether or not people talk bad of you, people don't like you. You just want to be free. And by the time you're 50 to 60, do you still care about money? No, because at that point, you're towards the end of your career. You have a retirement fund, hopefully, right? A 401k, as long as it doesn't get wiped out by the economy, by a recession, right? Then you're okay. But can you ever predict when the next recession will happen? For example, Brant, do you think can you predict when the next recession will happen?
No, but if anything, it might be soon because of all the tariffs.
Yeah. Oh, man. Right? I know it's crazy what happened with Canada, US, all the other countries, but
Yeah.
in actuality, no. But statistically, yes, you can have an estimate. If you guys don't know, if you look up on what's called BBB, Business Bureau, like bureaucracy, whatever, on that website, it talks about the statistical evidence of when a recession happens, when an expansionary happens, and it typically tends to be every 8 to 12 years. So what does this tell you? And if you look back as well, 2020 was the last recession. Before that, 2008. Before that, 2001. Before that, 1994. So you can see, typically every 8 to 12 years, you can be able to, or there will be some sort of recession. But what does this mean? In that time period of 8 to 12 years, can you guarantee that you will keep your job? Can you guarantee that you're going to be the one that, out of all those people that get laid off, like for example, Google, Meta, AI, there was over 104,000 layoffs in 2023 during that recession. Can you guarantee yourself that out of all those other people who go to Harvard, Yale, all these other companies, or all these other colleges, that you'll survive? No. But if I were to ask you right now, because right now, if you guys get laid off, for example, Reese, do you think you can be able to bounce back and recover if you get laid off right now?
I mean, if I get laid off right at this moment, I mean,
Yeah.
probably given enough time, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. You're young. You still have a lot of energy. You still have a lot of time. A long life ahead of you. Now, if I ask you, if you were to get laid off in your 30s, right? Would it be a little bit harder? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you'd have
But could you still do it?
less people. Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. Now, what about in your 40s and you get laid off? Bouncing back, it becomes very, very difficult. If you're in your 50s and you get laid off, you're done. Because let me tell you why. A lot of people think that when you get laid off, that you're going to start exactly where you were left off, at that top position. But if after 20, 30 years, you work in that position and you get laid off, no, you don't start at the top. You start at the bottom again, and you have to work your way back up in the company. And that's why it's so hard for people later on in their career to be able to bounce back and recover. And so what do our plan look like? What is it that we always get told in school? Go to school, get good grades, get a job, you're going to live a successful life. That's the top part. It's like a linear line. But what I want you guys to start seeing, start realizing, because this is something that school never tells you. It's something that school never teaches you, is to start looking at society around you, start questioning everything. Like, for example, the common question that probably none of you guys ever ask yourself is, why do our parents tell us stranger danger? Did anybody of you guys ever ask yourself that? Anybody ever wonder where that saying comes from? For example, Brant, do you ever question why is that saying a thing?
I mean, sometimes like I've thought about it in the past, just oh, like don't trust strangers. I feel like I don't really know where I even learned it. I guess it's like you said, kind of just something your parents
Mm-hmm.
say, and then like society kind of conforms that
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah, exactly. It's similar to that as well, in which society, they create that that conception, right? That conception, oh, stranger danger. But if you think about it, how did your parents meet, right? Weren't they
Yeah.
one stranger at one point? So the point I'm trying to make is that it's not about stranger danger and don't trust anybody, but don't trust the bad ones. Or for example, money is the root of all evil. I'm sure you guys have heard of that, correct? Well, if you use money to extort people for extortion, for bad things, then it's bad. But if you use money to help people for charity, donation, then it's good. Or for example, don't play with knives. Well, if you give the knife to a doctor, it can save someone. If you give the knife to a villain, it can hurt someone. And one that I really, really love, and one that I always think about, right, is that people, they tell you, don't dream big. Just stick to that stable income. Stick to that 9 to 5. Just get your 401k benefit. Get your 2 weeks of vacation. But you never question yourself, wait, when I look at your lifestyle, you're the one who's tired. You're the one who always come home, no time for your family. You're the one who always is complaining about your boss, complaining about your coworkers. So why would I take advice from somebody whose lifestyle I don't like? Because in all honesty, if all 4 of you guys, all 4 or 5, whoever is in here, you guys love the lifestyle that the person you were going down following, I don't think you would be looking for more, correct? I think that if everything was set in stone, if everything was already locked in place, that you knew exactly the direction that you wanted to go, then why veer off? Why try and come to a seminar to learn more? Because you already have it all figured out. But in reality, that's where the bottom part comes in, where there's different things like pandemic, pay cuts. There's different things like you lose passion, you get stressed out. And a common thing I hear is that, oh, I want to do what I'm passionate about. I want to make my career what I'm passionate about. But then, if I were to ask Shamir, sorry, what major or occupation are you in right now?
Currently I'm doing economics.
Economics. Okay. Now, if I were to ask you, what do you want to be after college? Like, do you know what type of economics you want to go down into?
I'm probably looking at like managerial economics.
Managerial economics. Now, if I were to ask you, would you do managerial economics for free? You didn't get paid for it. You didn't make any money from it. Would you still do it?
Probably not.
Probably not. What about Brant? Brant, if you were going down engineering and you didn't get paid for it, would you still do it?
No.
No. But then it's always funny to me how people say, no, I'm very passionate about it. I love it. To me, the way I define a passion is that you do something regardless of whether or not you get paid for it. True passion is like charity, donation. You don't make anything from it, but you love the feeling that it gives you. However, when we choose our career, slowly and slowly and slowly, when you make your passion your career, you lose passion over it because it gets tied to money. It gets tied to politics. It gets tied to wanting to work less hours, these different things. And so what does this mean? Is that you guys should look for the opportunity over something that you can do outside of your passion, outside of your career field, outside of what you really love to do. Because for a lot of you guys, maybe you don't love school, maybe you don't love your even working, right? You do it because you have to, because you need to make money in the future. But can you pursue your passion still while being able to do all of those things? While working 40, 50 hours, 60 hours a week, while having a family? Are you still able to do your passion of maybe it's like for music for some of you guys, sports for other of you guys, right? Are you still truly able to do that? Play games and stuff? No, you aren't going to be able to. The only way you can be able to is if you reduce the amount of hours that you're working, that you're putting towards a job, that you're putting towards somebody else's asset who's buying more time, right? The only way that you can be able to explore what you're passionate about is through time. And so what does our lifestyle really look like? It's what we call the 9 to 5, 40-hour work week, right? And so I'm not sure if any of you guys, and I asked this at the beginning, have any of you guys ever thought to yourself, why is it that it's a 5-day on and 2 days off system? Did you guys ever ask yourself that? Why can't Tuesday be a holiday? Why can't Wednesday be a holiday? Why can't it be a 4-day work week and 3 days off? Anybody? Nobody of you guys nobody's ever asked yourself that.
When I was younger, I would like talk to my friends about like, oh, like we should have like the weekend be like like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and then have like
Right?
3 days of school. Like yeah, like stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I would think to myself too, right? What about you, Shamir? Did you ever ask yourself this? Ever question why is it that our work week is like this?
Yeah, I have questioned it because I feel like 2 days off and 5 days of working is kind of disproportionate. No.
Disproportionate, right? It's like, what? Shouldn't it be like almost even, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, let me share with you guys this. The reason why we have what's called the 5-day on, 2-day off system, it was created by a guy named Henry Ford. Do you guys know who Ford Motors is by chance? Right? So the car brand and everything. So back a long time ago in the 1800s, that's when what? Slavery got abolished and everything because of course it's unethical. So instead, these large, very big plantation industrial companies, right? During the what's called the Industrial Revolution, I'm sure you guys have learned about it in history. All these industrial corps were moving into urbanized cities. That's where San Francisco come from. These sort of places, right? And within all of these urbanized areas, they would have what's called factory plants. And in these factory plants, they would take the people who once were slaves, right? They would have them work. And so, yes, they were paying them. However, they were working them for 16-hour shifts, 7 days a week. And they were doing that every single day for a whole year, for a few years, actually. And so people, they saw this. Henry Ford saw this. And he was like, wait, these people that are working nonstop. Yes, they're making money, but they don't even have any time to spend the money. It's like meaningless. And the second thing is he's like, there's no way that these people can be working like this for their whole life. They're going to get burnt out. They're going to get injured. They're going to quit. So that's where he proposed this idea about, wait, how about instead of 7 days, 16 hours, let's do 5 days only for 40 hours. So that in those remaining 8 hours, maybe they get some time for a family, they get some time to rest. But then you have to ask yourself, well, why is it not 7 days and 8 hours? And so I want to ask you guys, I want to start challenging your thinking because this is something that school will never teach you. They'll never get you to ask why. They'll never get you to survey the world around you. And so I want to ask maybe Mercia, hopefully your mic, hopefully you're not lagging or anything. Well, why do you think that we have 2 days off? What do you think Saturday is used for? Specifically Saturday.
I mean, I hope rest, but
Rest? Did you say rest?
yeah.
Yeah, that's correct. Now, for maybe Shamir, what do you think Sunday is used for?
For me, it's usually to like catch up and everything that like happened during the
Catch
week.
up? Kinda, but if let's say you're working full time, you made a lot of money, right? You use Saturday to rest.
Yeah.
Now you have
Also
money,
rest.
right? Sunday,
Yeah, mainly rest.
rest and spend though. Spend because that's your day off. That's where you can go out, go shopping, go to the malls, buy all these fancy stuff. Because now that you have a higher income level, now you can be able to spend more. You can be able to afford more. You have a higher standard of living. That's why people who buy a lot of fancy stuff, a lot of chains, a lot of jewelry, a lot of cars, they keep working nonstop because they have to keep up with that lifestyle that they embedded in themselves. And so you never really question, okay, what is Saturday, Sunday used for? Why is it 2 days, not 3 days? And so Henry Ford, when he created this model, these other business owners, they saw it and they're like, what? No way. No way in heck that I'm going to give these people 5 days off, 2 days off. But after Henry Ford implemented that within his own business, his profit went up by 300%. And I want to ask you guys, where do you guys think, and anybody of you guys can shout it out, where do you guys think his biggest profit came from? Take a guess. Don't be afraid.
So just like having the workers like spending their money and then wanting
Yep.
to come back and make more.
Exactly. Yep. Because those workers got the rest time, they go back to the company and they spend their money. And so you get caught without even knowing. Do you think that if you ask your parents, they could tell you this concept, that they would know it? Because if you realize that your life is already predetermined before you, do you think that what your parents do, they would be okay with it? They'd be completely satisfied that they don't have any control over their own work schedule, their own work week? Probably not, right? And so the point that I'm trying to make, and to all of you guys as well, is that what else is out there? what other things are beside just that 9 to 5, that 40-hour work week that you guys can pursue? Because in America, opportunity is everywhere. And there's this quote by my mentor, and he told me is that opportunity is like a thief. It comes without you knowing, but when it leaves, it has you feeling empty, like something's missing. And for me, that's exactly what I felt, because I was going through so many different seminars. I was going through so many different things. After I learned about these different concepts and everything like that, I was always asking and questioning to myself. I was like, man, what else can I do outside of school? What other fields, what other occupation, whatever side hustles can I do so that I don't end up in this 9 to 5 rat race? And so that's when I was really exploring, really looking, and I actually was able to get connected to, I don't know if you guys remember, one of my basketball business partners, the people I started my business with. And through them, I was talking to them and I was sharing. I was like, oh, like, yeah, I want to do my own business. I want to start doing my own thing. And he's like, oh, that's actually great. Because for me, I'm actually looking for a business as well. And so this part that I'm sharing, this is something that for me, I realized and I saw that I wanted to do. And so I was like, man, there has to be something outside. There has to be more than just going to school every single day. And so I was like, okay, let me go with him to this seminar. And so when I went with him to this seminar, in all honesty, I had like no idea what to expect. I'm just like, he's just like, oh, it's a business seminar. Why not just then? Similar to probably a lot of you guys in here today. And so when I was at that seminar, it was actually in person though. I saw something that I've never seen in my entire life. And it was really weird. I saw people, not just the fact that it was like a room with 300 people, but I saw people that were in their 50s and 60s. People that were doctors, lawyers, engineers, CPAs, small business owners, cafe workers, right? All of these people in their 50s and 60s were attending this seminar. And that really made me question, really made me think that, wait, if my starting point is these people's endpoint, and I want to get to where they're at, then why is it that these people are still looking for more? Do you guys understand what I'm saying? Because if they've already have that successful lifestyle, then why are they willing to redirect, go out of their way to come to a business seminar? So it really made me question, think that there has to be something outside of this 9 to 5 lifestyle that they're working that really entices them, really makes them want to branch out. And so during that seminar, and honestly, with all of you guys, I was probably like falling asleep, you know what I mean? It was that like that for me. Speaker after speaker after speaker on stage. I was getting bored. I'm like, man, I just want to go on my phone. But it wasn't for me until this one keynote speaker came on stage, and he was actually an international student from Vietnam. And he came here to the school of San Jose State. For those of you who know, if you guys don't know, it's okay. But he was studying in finance and accounting, like a lot of us, studying, just going down that regular degree, trying to get a job. But for himself, he saw that, wait, he came here to pursue the American dream. But for Shamir, did anybody ever tell you that the American dream was go work a 9 to 5? Did anybody ever tell you it was to go be stuck in the rat race? No, right?
I haven't had anyone directly say it, but I have seen like, comments and stuff like that.
Yeah, you've seen comments and stuff like that, right? But yeah, nobody's ever going to be like, yeah, it's to be stuck here. It's to do this for the rest of your life. No, the American dream is that you are able to do what you want on your schedule based around the lifestyle that you want to live. And so this is something that I never questioned. I never thought about until he brought it up. And so throughout that seminar, it wasn't the money that impressed me. What impressed me was the lifestyle that he had, in which, for me, when I compare between the people in my life compared to his life, I saw something that was so unusual. Is that it's not the fact that when he started his business at the age of 19, he was able to retire himself by the time he turned 21 before graduating. That wasn't the most impressive thing to me. I let that sink in though. A guy that was 2 years, started his business, college students like most of you guys, retired himself. What was the most impressive thing was that by the time he turned 25, he was able to retire his mom. And by the time he turned 26, he was able to retire his dad. And they were working full time, 60 hours, 70 hours a week. And I don't mean retirement as in like sit on your butt all day, but retirement as in he was able to take them traveling to over 50 different states and 11 different countries. And I was like, whoa, okay, I've never heard of this before. Because out there, I see, compare that to my dad. He's making 6-figure income, 150K, 200K. Yet he still goes to work 12 a.m. every single day. Work night shift, graveyard shift. And I was like, man, why is that? His lifestyle's here. He's 60. My mentor, who is now, right? Phil, he's over here and he is already free. And when I talk about retiring at 40, retiring his parents at 40, it's not that he retired them at 40. It's that he bought back 20 years of his parents' life and 40 years of his life. It's like, for example, for me, when I would wake up, I wake up to an alarm clock. 9 a.m., 10 a.m. to go to school, all that stuff. For him, he wakes up at 1, 2 p.m. because he wants to. For example, when you go traveling, Reese, right? You know how you carry a luggage with all your stuff in it, all the clothes, all the items that you need? For him, he goes traveling, but he brings nothing with him because he can buy everything over there. It's like if you go to vacation, right? And let's say you go out with your family. Do you guys usually come back when you're bored? Or do you come back because you have to? Because it's Monday.
We come back when it's Monday.
Because it's Monday, right? And so this concept, this thing that I'm talking about, it was so interesting. It's so fascinating to me because nowhere else out there in my life had I seen anybody also be free at such an early age. And so when like Grant was mentioning at the beginning of the meeting, he was interested in a seminar like this because he saw how passionate, how enthusiastic somebody was about their dream. Because I don't know about you guys, but out there, I don't see many people say, this is my dream, this is my goal, this is my vision. It's like if I were to ask, let's say, Shamir, what do you do right now? What do you currently do? What do you want to do? You know what you're going to ask? You're probably going to tell me, I want to be a managerial economics, right? I do school, I study, I work part-time, all this stuff. But if anyone were to ask me, what do? I say, I listen to audios. I listen to success stories. I listen to podcasts. I read books. I like basketball. I like this stuff. I don't define myself by the one thing of my career, but what I truly am passionate about. But out there, they always tell you, when you introduce yourself, say exactly what type of career you want to have. Well, for me, that's not the lifestyle that I want to live. And so that's why I think for you guys who are in this Zoom room, for those of you who have been maybe imbibed by someone or somebody obviously talked to you about this, my recommendation for you is try to learn from that person. Try and get back to them and ask them, what is it that you have? What is that you saw? What is that you learned that I could not learn in school, that I could not learn through my class? You should ask them specifically and be like, are there any opportunities that you're currently pursuing that might be a benefit to me that I can also learn about? Because throughout this whole seminar, I'm sure that you guys might have maybe learned 1 or 2 things that maybe school has not implemented into your mind. And that's why it's very important. Like Bryant said, you want to follow those people who have what's called the fruit on the tree. For those of you who don't know what that means, it means that they have the exact lifestyle out there that you want to have. Whether it's time, whether it's money, whether it's freedom, whether it's the ability to travel, they have exactly that exact lifestyle that you're looking for. And so you have to ask yourself, if what I want to get right now in my dream, in my future, does not align with the career path I'm taking right now, there's something wrong. There's something else that I need to do outside of it that can be able to provide me that life. And so for me, I saw my mentor on stage and I was somebody that was like, man, I got to learn more about what he's doing. I have to learn about what are his success principles. What is it that he pursued? Because I don't think it's about what you know, but it's more about who you know. And so that's why I was so ambitious. I was like, man, I got to learn from this guy. And so after he spoke on stage, I literally hunted out, I chased him. I was like, man, can you tell me, what do you do? How did your business work? What are these things that you were able to produce out of it? And then for him, he didn't even want to tell me about the business because he said, hey, you know, you seem like an ambitious guy, but I'm sure that you have not run a business before in the past. Wow. Because if you have, you wouldn't be sitting here in front of me today. And he said, the way that you're asking me these questions, it's not based around the principle of you wanting to do the business I do, but simply around the principle of curiosity, of just, oh, that's kind of cool. That's what you want to learn. And if you are serious, like how I was about learning, then it's not about asking, what is the business? How does it work? Anything like that, that maybe, you know, these people that you might talk to, they know about. But it's more asking, what type of knowledge, what type of insight, what type of information can I get from this meeting, from maybe other things that you know, that can supplement my knowledge and maybe help me jumpstart a different path that I didn't realize. And so that type of question that you ask them, they're going to be able to help you. They're going to be able to provide you. They're going to be able to give you maybe resources, maybe some things that can really help you be able to learn more about what businesses, what side hustles, what things can you do alongside college that can really produce something alongside, outside of just a club, outside of just a job. Because again, when you know that your goal, when you know that your dream, your vision, whatever it might be, is to not work your whole life, or it's that you want a higher standard than what the people around you are doing right now. And again, that's when you need to start questioning and thinking, what else is out there for me? And so, definitely, I would recommend asking if there's any more events, if there's anything else that you guys can do to learn about what is it that that person, they knew and you didn't know. Because I have that kind of humbleness, that healthy ego of like, I have to know what that person knows. Because that person, they're the same age as me. That person, they're younger than me. How is it that they know more than me? That doesn't make sense to me, you know what I mean? And so that's why, definitely, put down a little bit of that ego that you might have, like, oh man, they're a different major than me, they're a different occupation, but open yourself up and be willing to learn, be willing to grow. Because I think that we're all in this together, we're all going down the same path, but you simply choose when and where you learn about the things I just told you today. Whether it be now, whether it be in a day from now, or maybe for a lot of you guys, it might be 20, 30 years when you realize, because you have to experience and you have to feel what it's like to work that 9 to 5. You have to experience what it's like to not be able to make choices in your life. You have to experience when you ask for time off and your boss denies it, or you ask for time off and your boss threatens you. Maybe that's something that you guys just have to experience for yourself. But other than that, I want to thank all of you guys for sitting with me through the seminar. Definitely, I enjoyed talking to all of you guys, and let's get back to those. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, let's go, Kelvin.
Thank
I
you.
like that. I like that, man.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
so I mean, if
Kelvin.
everybody can, can please unmute, just, clap it up for Calvin a little bit. That was an amazing, little workshop right there that we just had. But, yeah, I mean, before we wrap everything up, I'd actually like to, go through, like, maybe, like, each one of you guys, maybe kind of just ask you guys maybe just, like, one question, maybe, like, one takeaway or, like, one reflection that you guys got away from, from this workshop today. I mean, we could start with Brant.
Yeah, I think I was taking notes, but I think the main thing for me that I took away is kind of just like how important time is and how it's like really, I think the ideal has always been for me like maximize my time, but instead it should be like learn how to reduce the amount of time I have to work, and then also like getting knowledge from like people like Kelvin and people like yourself, where as like I can't gain that from something like school, as he was saying, I can instead ask them and try and get stuff from that.
No, yeah. I mean, I really like that reflection, Brant. Yeah, and then it's amazing. I mean, you're even taking notes too. But yeah, looking forward, seeing you, in the future as well. But we can go with Mauricio now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, for me, it was just a lot of reflection, just how it works, and with time management, like Grant said as well. If possible, I don't want to have to work so much, and then I'd love to retire early and be able to just enjoy my life as well.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. No, yeah, thank you for sharing, Mauricio. We can go with Reese.
Yeah, I think my main takeaway from this is sticking to people who you wanna get to where they are, in that situation, because they're the ones in their own situation and they're the ones who know how to get to that situation.
Definitely, man. Yeah, awesome, man. We can go with Shamir.
Yeah, similar to Brand, I learned a lot about how like valuable time is, because it was definitely interesting seeing how, in a way, how much each dollar that we make has time behind it, that we spent making it. So when we pay money, we're basically paying time as well.
Oh yeah, of course. No, yeah, that's something that I learned, when I came, one of my first workshops as well. But yeah, thank you for sharing that, Shamir. We can go with David.
So basically, the whole time I learned more about time and getting stuck. I don't want to like get stuck in the rat race, just trying to chase every other dollar. Instead, we should just use that time to like learn like how we gonna make it, like retire by like 40 years of your life, and probably possibly retire your parents and not try to work like too much.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, David. We can go with Adrian now.
one of the main takeaways that I got from this is the dedication part when it comes to what you want to do in your career.
Mm.
So what really got me was like you want to do something when you want. I mean, you want to do something when for free, and that's how you know like you would want to pursue that. And another thing would probably be like getting perspectives from other people, such as like yourself.
Mm. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate all you guys sharing a little bit of reflection and just like a takeaway. But I mean, before we wrap everything up, I kind of just wanted to mention, pretty much adding on to what Kelvin said. He is actually going to have a few exclusive meetings after this seminar. So like there is going to be another workshop. I'd say diving deeper, about wealth building and how to leverage. How to leverage the business platform and what it takes to be successful. It's going to be this Saturday in on May 10th. But I would definitely reach back, out to the person who invited you today. So, like maybe if I invited if I invited you, just reach back out to me. Maybe if Kelvin invited you or someone like Gonzo, I know someone maybe like Travis or Tree. Just reach back out, to the person who invited you today, and just ask them for more information. If maybe this is something you want to continue pursuing. But yeah, I mean, without further ado, I appreciate everybody's time today. But yeah, this concludes our meeting. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Have a
Thank you
good
so
day.
much.
Thank you.